I'm going to sort of throw this open to everybody because I'm looking for advice. So what we do here at the Concord Coalition is among other things is try to educate the public about the need for a more fiscally responsible federal government. Um, and it's always a challenge. I mean, the interest in budget deficits and debt has sort of waxed and waned over the years. There used to be somewhat of a bipartisan consensus that, yeah, we had to address entitlements and we had to do something on tax reform. And so there was more of a broader bipartisan consensus, and that's pretty much broken down in recent years. And so I guess my question is, as a college student, I guess two questions, sort of what do not the fellow students who are on your team, but when you tell just sort of other random students, like, what have you been doing? What are you working on? Do you get a sense from other students that they sort of get it that yeah, maybe the budget is in trouble and we need to do something about it? And if they do, or perhaps if they don't get it, what advice would you have for maybe us and other groups like the Concord Coalition? How would we get college students more engaged in trying to address the needs of our nation's fiscal policy? And I'll just sort of throw that open, whoever wants to jump in there.
I can start. Um, well, talking to, college students, often you get the sense that there's no sense of urgency. Because, for instance, with Social Security, there's this attitude, oh, they're going to come up with something when the time comes, so I'm not worried about it. Or there's a pessimistic attitude as well, which is, I won't have my retirement, so why worry? I feel that explaining, in my experience, explaining what exactly is going to happen if we don't fix Social Security, for instance, to their parents, first of all, but second, to their own retirement, because if they cannot take into account the potential Social Security income, it becomes quite a bit harder. Now, it means, of course, they should also save for their retirement, but Social Security is an important part to stabilize, any short gaps that might arise in the future. Um, but I feel that pointing out the effects on their personal lives really helps. Sort of like asking them to imagine themselves in 40 years being without Social Security.
Yeah, kind of just to echo that is when I bring up the fiscal challenge and what I'm doing, a lot of people are like, really, it takes a lot of explaining to get to people what actually I'm doing here, what actually, they think congressional policy, people often think of like political or social issues. They aren't necessarily thinking about the economic ones. So a lot of what I think our club tries to do in terms of like when we're talking to students about, what this club does and why this is important is why economic issues in themselves are important, specifically these issues of the debt. And I think a big part of that is the interest payments. And I think kind of one of the big things that gets a lot of people really interested in this and why a lot of the members of our club get interested in this and really become passionate about the debt as an issue is this idea that ultimately on interest, you're spending a huge portion of the US budget paying for previous things rather than investing in the future or investing in the kinds of things that you want to see in your society. So the idea is like, you have all these great ideas, all these college students have a whole bunch of great things they want to do with the country and with the future, but those things, they need financing. And if we keep finance sort of pushing all our spending forward, we won't have any ability to spend for the next generation of great ideas. So I think a good way to reach out to people and to talk to people about this is to help them understand sort of the magnitude of the consequences of not dealing with this issue and how things keep piling up.
Yeah, Jake, you just put it so well. The fact that with an increasingly unsustainable budget, we have less money to spend on really important discretionary spending activities that could really, like that universal childcare proposal that you had, like that is money that we need. It needs to come from somewhere. And if you talk to a lot of college students, they're either highly idealistic or they're highly pessimistic about our future. And I think one of the biggest things in connecting with college students is making them feel heard and just making them feel like, yeah, my desires and my dream and my future for myself is valuable, is like someone cares about it. And it's not just a bunch of powers that be talking about my future without me being in the room and without me having any say. Like someone actually cares about making sure that myself and my kids can afford to go to college, or that myself and my kids can move upward on the socioeconomic ladder. And that's something that I think is really lacking. It's not just about educating, it's also about listening. So yeah.